Hello, and welcome to the webinar Unleash Your Content, Content as a Service, presented by dotCMS and Architect. I'm Alexandra Barcelona, Marketing Manager at dotCMS, and I'll be today's moderator. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items. We are recording today's webinar, and we will be sending it out to everyone who has registered. We will also have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Please feel free to submit your questions throughout the webinar at the panel on the right. And you can also follow along with the webinar on Twitter using the hashtag #UnleashYourContent. Welcome to our webinar. With that, I'd like to pass it over to today's presenters, Dean and Christian.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. As Alexandra said, my name is Dean Gonzalez. I'm the Director of Training and the General Manager of dotCMS Costa Rica Operations. I'm really excited about this webinar because as the Director of Training over the last decade, I've seen client needs concerning web shift from a presentation layer focus to responsive design, to mobile first, to a real decoupling of the content store from the presentation layer. So I'm happy to be talking to you, all of you today, together with Christian and Alexandra, and about how dotCMS can help clients implement a content as a service strategy.
Thanks, Dean. Hi, my name is Christian Megaceci. I'm the Director of Sales at Architech. Architect's a custom solutions provider and very proud to be presenting here today as dotCMS's Platinum Partner. Architect has led and assisted projects across multiple verticals, everything from financial services and government to retail and food service. All that said, today is about content as a service, and as Dean said, we're very excited to talk to you about CaaS because as a solutions provider, we have a luxury. That luxury is being able to see multiple projects in flight, but more importantly is the ever-changing landscape and constant need for a better user experience. For the agenda, we really have 4 areas to focus on. First, we'll talk to what is content as a service. This can often be misinterpreted. In order to give you our perspective, we'll touch on what CMS is today and where we see it going in the future. From there, we'll dive deep into how CaaS works and how dotCMS enables that with their industry-leading technology. We'll then switch gears to discuss what those benefits really are, both for product owners and IT alike. We'll also share with you how we've seen our clients and partners realize these benefits today. Finally, we will review the information and provide time for Q&A.
Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do is define, what is content as a service. So what is CaaS and why are we seeing more of our largest clients move to this successful strategy model? At its simplest definition, content as a service is the separation of creating and managing content from the visual presentation of the content. It's the purposeful decoupling of the presentation layer and the content store, a headless, if you will, content management system approach. In other words, you create, edit, and manage your content in one place or system and display it in another. This allows you to deliver the same piece of content to your company's website, mobile app, wearable device, or whatever happens to be the next big thing technology that you'd like to deliver content to.
Now, the exciting part about content as a service is when you break it down, what we're really talking about is the evolution of your CMS. We make an emphasis on your CMS because this is really a decision that's made by you. When you think about it, CMS today is widely known, and for most organizations is a technology that is pretty much well understood. But the question we need to ask ourselves today is how can we extend these capabilities, not only for our CMS, but also for our content? How can we make our content work for us? Now, before we talk about the future, we really need to understand the current world as we know it today. For the most part, CMS is used as presentation layer. This is a very common approach from an implementation, is neither correct or wrong, but we ask ourselves, are we limiting the capabilities of the CMS by doing this? Is there potentially another way? What's worse, if you go deeper, is that not only are we missing a major opportunity in evolution of our technology, more often than not, it becomes a technical roadblock. We need to get back to viewing content as an asset, but how do we do that? This is where we'll spend most of our time today. So first of all, speaking to what could be, and as we've seen with our clients and the change is very phenomenal. And second, how can any organizations, including the ones on this webinar today, accomplish that? Now, from a future state perspective, looking towards the future, Dean described it best. Imagine a world where CMS is of a simplified architecture for our IT professionals. A world where product owners are able to deliver more features with less constraints. It's an amazing world when you think about it. Less constraints for IT, more features for all our stakeholders. You can almost get chills thinking about it. All that said, we understand that there are naysayers, but what we know to be true is that the world that we believe from a future perspective actually does exist today. In the upcoming slides, Dean's going to walk us through how that works and how dotCMS as an organization and technology is leading this charge and making that future state a reality today.
So let's talk about some of the key technologies and features dotCMS has to help implement a CaaS strategy. First, we have structured content, the ability to define content types, fields, and custom data. If we can move to that next slide, Christian. Very perfect. So we have structured content, the ability to define content types, fields, and custom data. We also have rich APIs that are not only allow you to pull content based on parameters via JSON, XML, or HTML, but also create and update content via RESTful endpoints. We also have powerful search features, and you need a powerful search tool that can index and pull content based upon a variety of parameters, facets, metadata, categories. And while you're displaying that information, you also need very layered permissions. Your content needs to be secure, and your APIs, need to constantly check and enforce permissions as they're displaying that content. You also need workflows, flexible workflows that are customizable processes for each type of content that you're managing, having automated or even time-triggered workflow actions and workflow steps that can send data to other third-party systems is also very useful. So first, let's talk about structured content. How does dotCMS facilitate the content as a service strategy? From its inception in 2003, dotCMS has been architected to separate content from the presentation layer. So the CaaS strategy really fits well with how we designed our system from the get-go. dotCMS provides a GUI for creating and managing structured content types. Whether you are using dotCMS for your presentation layer or not, you still need the ability to define different types of content. And then within each type of content, dotCMS allows you to define fields that help you kind of chunk the data and define data types so that any specific attribute of that data can be granularly extracted later from the dotCMS content store. So the interface that you're looking at to the right of the screen, which is currently our latest development iteration of the GUI using Angular 2, is the place where data is defined, customized, and differentiated. Whether it's text or binary images or categorization or keyword tag or relating one content type to another, or even adding custom code fields that act like mini applications within your content. All of that is possible using dotCMS structured content. But the nice thing is that once you have defined all the attributes of your content model, then we provide ways that you can interact with the content store via RESTful web services. So how do you interact with that content? Out of the box, dotCMS provides APIs for importing, managing, and delivering the content. Depending upon your specific projects, the management API is often overlooked, but maybe as important as the delivery API. For example, when you're creating a standalone application, you will most likely be editing and creating new content from the API as much as you're pulling and displaying the existing content. This is one of the differentiators between dotCMS and other systems, is that nearly everything that you can do to create update or remove content via our web interface is also possible via RESTful API web service commands. dotCMS also leverages the power of Elasticsearch natively. In dotCMS, content is indexed in real time. So the index is updated with each change to the content store. This native implementation of Elasticsearch really differentiates dotCMS from other systems. Complex Elasticsearch queries can be first tested in our GUI interface and then called via the REST API. dotCMS provides customizable taxonomy tools, a category manager, a tag manager, and these taxonomies can be used when injecting or pulling content via REST. Elasticsearch also provides full text indexation of uploaded assets for more powerful and relevant search listings. Customizable workflow controls are also key to content as a service implementation strategy. So let me list just a few of the many different workflow features that are all available via REST, even when dotCMS is not managing your presentation layer. dotCMS workflows are very popular. They're probably the most popular extension point in dotCMS with the majority of our clients. Workflows allow for a seamless content integration with third-party tools and APIs. For example, when content is published, a custom action can push to a CDN or a third-party application. When content is unpublished, workflows can notify a specific person or a group of people. When a new promo content is entered, you can send automated tweets that utilize content fields for the tweet message. Inbound marketing triggers can be sent out in an automated way. Custom emails, send data to constant contact. These are just examples of what you can do with dotCMS workflows and the REST API. It's really endless on what you can do, and that's why workflows happen to be our most popular extension point. Now let's talk about architecture. dotCMS can be deployed in the cloud, on-premise, or a hybrid of both. dotCMS nodes can be clustered to scale for front-end traffic. New nodes can even auto-wire themselves to an existing cluster, and even auto-scale to compensate for traffic growth. dotCMS has a flexible implementation strategy for wherever you'd like your servers to live or however you'd like to manage them. Security. dotCMS security is as flexible as it is powerful. All content is permissioned on a very granular level by inheritance or down to the content level. Roles and permissions are completely configurable. All APIs respect permissions, and authentication can be tied into Active Directory, LDAP, SAML, OAuth, or some custom authentication. So, what's in a CaaS implementation? What are the end goals here of a CaaS implementation strategy? A better user experience, number one. Allowing front-end developers to build better experiences using the latest technology, whether it's Angular or React or whatever modern front-end development technology. Decoupling that presentation layer gives you the power to create a more seamless customer journey across different devices or platforms. It is a simpler and more flexible architecture, and it allows you to future-proof, if you will, your content for whatever is the next big thing. Access your content from anywhere on any device.
Great, thanks, Dean. So now that we understand a little bit about how it works and some of the implementation strategies, let's dive into the benefits themselves, and we're going to give this to you in two different perspectives. So first of all, the benefits of CaaS. First and foremost, with any journey, we have two main characters. In this scenario, we've got the business and we've got the IT professionals. When we think about it, we all strive to be able to collaborate with different organizations within our companies. There's an agile movement and being able to be cross-functional and really be able to converge into being one team. And in this story, on one side we have our IT professionals, and on the other you have your product owners. The benefit of content as a service really is twofold. First, and we mentioned this before, is a simplified architecture for IT, and again, a better user experience for our product owners. The net result really is a stronger relationship between our two stakeholders, and this is just the starting point for some specific benefits that we'll dive deep into as well. So now, from an overall benefits perspective, let's begin with IT. The first benefit we've seen with CaaS has been a better performance, and this day it's more evident as companies continue to view digital as mission-critical applications. Performance is really the top priority in making sure that not only is our systems and our solutions functional, but they're performing at the levels that are needed by the users and also the business. The second benefit for IT is scalability. It continues to be difficult to plan for the future. Every organization is looking to do double-digit growth, but the ability to scale with a simplified architecture really allows the organization to focus on the growth and less about the constraints of IT and the constraints of our systems to be able to manage the growth. The third benefit we've witnessed is, again, that simplified architecture. Deploying leading technologies should not be complicated, and as we know with the complex systems that are being built today, we want to make sure that CMS is a part of an overall strategy, but still simplified in its nature. We know this to be true because of the successful deployments we've seen with dotCMS, and again, across multiple verticals, everything from government to retail, food service, and etc. Now, from a business perspective, the first benefit is really the enhanced features through new frameworks and third-party integrations. Technology is ever-changing, and we need to be able to adjust as an organization. And from a business perspective, we always want to be able to leverage what's out there in the market. And it's good to say, from a CaaS perspective, it allows us to do this. The second benefit is enhanced and customizable user experience. Going back to newer technology again, it allows us to provide that user experience that is deserving of our clients and expectations as technology continues to evolve. And as a culmination of all of these abilities for the content owners to be able to deliver to multiple channels such as web, mobile, kiosk, and any other screens that really come to play as time continues to progress through multi-channel publishing. Let's switch gears for a second here and talk about a specific use case that we've seen from a client perspective. And on the business side, CaaS for this National Food Service Organization has allowed a growing food service and quick serve restaurant enhance their user experience, specifically within search. And Dean touched upon this in ElasticSearch. Imagine a company that has a unique search ability. Everybody has products, everybody has product names, but in this specific scenario with the food service company, it was the ability to be able not just to search for the product itself or the sandwich or the actual food item, but potentially for dietary restrictions, as an example, or specific ingredients within a specific recipe. This enhances the user experience for the customer or the end client and the end users, because now not only is the organization harnessing the data that's available to them, but they're extending that out to the client and enhancing the experience, because now not only can they switch or go back and forth from the actual product itself, but take a look at it from a dietary restriction perspective or a specific ingredient. Now, from a IT perspective, every organization, as we mentioned, is looking to scale and grow. Now, the difficult part for all of our IT professionals on the webinar today is, how do you manage that growth? How do you begin to plan for what growth could be and make sure that your infrastructure and architecture allows that? So scalability, as we all know, is at the forefront of concerns of every IT leader. and CaaS has helped this specific nonprofit organization to be able to scale as the demand for their online services are set to increase, yet still be able to predict, as difficult as that may be. Okay, so now what we'll do is just a quick recap on what we've covered, and we'll switch over to Q&A. So over the last 20 minutes or so, we've talked to you about CaaS and how it lets you manage your contact directly, really unleashing you from device and display restrictions. Second is using CaaS, content be delivered through HTML, XML, JSON by web, directly into web apps, mobile apps, and via REST calls. Third is CaaS enabling better IT performance, facilitating scalability and simplified architecture. Fourth is CaaS provides business teams with the capacity to leverage new technologies and frameworks, rich web apps, third-party integrations, and really provide that enhanced and customizable user experience, as well as multi-channel publishing. Okay, so now we'll turn it over to Alexandra and for some question and answers. Alex, over to you.
Thanks, Christian. And thank you, Dean, for all of your insights. That was very helpful and a great overview of what CaaS is, how it works, and how it's being used today. Just a reminder to everyone in the audience, you can submit your questions in the panel on the side. So right now, I'd like to go through a couple of questions that we got. And an overall reminder to everyone, we did record today's webinar, so you will be getting a copy of that recording. So let's dive in. Christian, this first question is for you. If you already have implemented your CMS, what's the approach you should take to be able to move towards CaaS?
Great, fantastic question. And the answer in that really resides in what the end result that you're looking to achieve. As we mentioned in some of the benefit slides, and specifically in the food service use case there, they were trying to provide a better user experience as it relates to search. Search is, again, very cornerstone to a lot of solutions for a lot of different types of organizations. Theirs was unique because search was almost embedded within specific product sets for them, and they wanted to be able to give that ability back to the customers and end users. So that's one example. Another example could be from a overall user experience or newer technologies. As we see more things like Angular 2 coming out to the market, you want to be able to take those technologies and implement them as part of your overall solution. And in some architectures today, existing CMS systems, it really doesn't allow you to do that. So those are just a couple of examples of where how to implement CaaS and some of the directions and abilities to do so.
Okay, thank you, Christian. Dean, this next one is for you. Where are assets stored in dotCMS?
Okay, great question, and that actually comes up a lot in training because we have two different fields, and it's more of a nomenclature type thing. We have one field that's called a binary field, and there's another field called an image field or a file field. Now, they all store as binary assets. So, people tend to think that they actually get stored in different places. The binary field actually stores the content still to the same content store. It's still inside of the assets directory, but whenever you actually access the content through the UI, you access it right there inside the piece of content. Whenever you upload an image to the file tree or the site browser tree in the UI, it really still goes to the same assets directory that's inside of the root directory actually on your dotCMS server. So the nice thing about the separation in the UI is that you can if you want to store images directly in your content, then you can edit those, like our dotCMS documentation site. We have all of our images right there embedded within our content because we don't want to have to go outside of our documentation content to be able to edit those images. We're never going to use them in an image gallery or anything like that. And then the binary, the files that are uploaded to the site browser tree, those are disassociated from the content, so that then if you do want a photo gallery, you just send a path to whatever, whether you're using jQuery, whatever, you pull up your photo gallery, and all of those images can be accessed by just simply a path. But all of the assets are actually stored whenever you look at the dotCMS server, and where do they really live under the covers on the server. It's all in the assets directory inside the root directory in dotCMS. So if you want to symlink and offload that assets directory somewhere else to another server or whatever you want, you can do that. So they all live inside the assets directory and can be offloaded. So great question.
Thanks, Dean. That's very helpful. Next question, Christian, this one is for you. How do you suggest product owners how they would approach the ROI and justifying a business case for CaaS strategy, considering the investment it requires?
Wow, yeah, that's it's something that you definitely have to consider when you're putting together a business case. Whether you're doing a greenfield or if you have an existing CMS. I'd point back again to the earlier question around, how do you tackle it, and how do you go about doing a CaaS strategy. But from an ROI perspective, typically organizations will take a look at what features need to be coming out specific to the solution or the program or the project itself over the course of a period of time, and weighing out those features and seeing which ones are actually have the ability to be released based on what exists today. So for our friends that are existing CMS clients and are using CMS today, take a look at what the backlog holds in terms of the features and prioritize based on whether they're able to be realized from a user experience perspective based on the architecture today. Now for newer clients, we always wanted to make sure that you're considering CaaS to begin with. There really isn't a negative benefit to organizations as long as there's enough of a runway and planning and strategy in the forefront of the projects, so everyone understands the timelines that are required to be able to implement both from a strategy perspective but also from a realization into production.
Thanks, Christian. Another question that came in, Dean, I'll send this one to you. Are PDFs and any document type fully text searchable?
A great question, and absolutely. We actually, during training, we give several examples of that. We'll look at a PDF and look at all of the fields that are showing in the back-end UI on the content tab, and then we'll search for a term that doesn't exist anywhere in the fields that you would think would be marked as searchable. And the reason is and then I go into the PDF, or I go into the PowerPoint or the Word document. I show, okay, well, this is why we're in the search all fields. We're getting this because it's actually searching on the associated PDF or whatever the file happens to be. We're actually diving down into it and searching within the document itself. So yes, full text search on any document type. It doesn't need to be a specific document type. It can be PDF, whatever you can upload to dotCMS. Great question.
Thanks, Dean. Another one for you. What version of dotCMS would a client need to be on to use CaaS?
I guess any of our recent versions. I can't even. I'm having a hard time remembering back to a version whenever that wouldn't be. The CaaS strategy wouldn't work. Like I said, in 2003, whenever we originally were designing dotCMS, it was a fundamental, the separation of the presentation layer from the content store. So I would say whenever our API is really hardened, wow. I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, that would have to be dotCMS. You'd have to go back to the 2 point somethings. We're right now in version 3.6. So if you are on 3.5 or 3, even back as far as 3.2.4, any post 3.0 version, really, you're just fine for this, CaaS implementation strategy.
Okay, thank you, Dean. Another question for you, Christian. Speaking about the ability to offer a better user experience and more features for end users, what are the trends you're seeing as it relates to CMS and CaaS?
Another great question. The entrance of newer frameworks and being able to not just stay within the plugins and widgets that are available through the dotCMS market, but being able to build them customly through new frameworks. I mentioned Angular 2 earlier. Those are really the trends that we're going to see and continue to see, and it's a good thing both for solution providers like Architech and also dotCMS as a technology provider, because it allows us to push the boundaries of the user experience. But the trend really is from a user experience perspective on the newer frameworks, and more recently with 3.5 is the concept of personalization. Websites now need to be dynamic. I was with a client recently, and they had this concept that the website should be catered to them in almost a form of entertainment, because it's so personalized, and the user experience is that much more enhanced, because when you visit the site, there's a sense that it was made for you, and that's only made possible through technology upgrades and the capabilities through dotCMS, but also from the business perspective and our product owners and marketing folks understanding their clients. More and more now we find that we're defining personas of our clients, and it's really taking us back to the basics of understanding, why do these organizations to begin operating, what's the value that they're really providing to their end clients. And as everybody knows, multi-screen websites, mobile, this is the essence and the spirit of the companies if there's no traditional bricks and mortar involved, and is really the only way digitally that we can reach out to our clients. So those would be two main themes that I see progressing over time.
Thanks, Christian. For you, Dean, since this utilizes ElasticSearch, what is the impact on the website site speed for calling this data?
Okay, well, we use Elasticsearch natively, like I said in the presentation. So it's actually the only way that we for content within our system. So it's completely optimized. Now, it can be internalized or externalized. It can scale horizontally. It's completely optimized within our system. We give a couple of different ways that you can actually search for content. We have, even in our UI, we have an Elasticsearch query tool, and we also have a more Lucene-like query tool, which still uses Elasticsearch, but Elasticsearch has a parameter where you can actually send something that is created in a Lucene-like language as far as a query goes, which is a lot more readable for a lot of front-end developers. And you can inject that into your search, and Elasticsearch will take it and then take that query in that specific format and then kind of transfer it over and return. But it's completely optimized for Elasticsearch. It is embedded natively into our system, so it is the way that we search for content. So like I said from the beginning, this is the way that we've architected dotCMS and content searching to be native.
Okay, thanks, Dean. For you, Christian, one more question. How does multi-channel publishing work for marketing teams?
Great question. I think it kind of starts with the landscape of technology today. It's not good enough anymore to just be able to push content out to just web experiences. Web experiences is a terminology, but web extends to mobile, it extends to tablet, extends to digital signage, it extends to kiosk. Every day it seems like we're hearing about another client of ours that it's kind of pushing the boundaries of CMS. And with multi-channel publishing for marketing, what it allows them to do is to just not only push content and to a specific avenue, but also extend it to all the different branches. So now your web experience is very different than your mobile experience. Your kiosk experience is very different from a tablet experience. So for marketing teams, dotCMS has allowed this capability to be able to push content in specific ways, and it puts the power and the control back to the business, really.
Thanks, Christian. And we actually have one more question for Dean. Does this work with dynamically generated URLs?
Okay, well, I'd have to kind of take a look at what the specific user meant by dynamically generated URLs. But if we're talking about like embedded URL mapping, something like that, then whatever you can request to the server from the front end of dotCMS normally, if you can make that same request, then you should be able to do that through our REST API as well. I'd have to take a look at what the specific specifically, what kind of implementation, what would be the example there. But I'd be more than happy to take that one offline. You could email me at Dean, D-E-A-N, at dotcms.com, or you could email info@dotcms.com. Be more than happy to take a look at what your exact implementation is and then guide you to the right strategy for what you're trying to do. But yeah, absolutely. If it should be if you can make the request, as you would if you were using dotCMS for the presentation, then you should be able to access that through the API.
Okay, thank you. And thank you again to our presenters, Dean and Christian. That was a lot of really great information and then Q&A at the end. And thank you for all of you for joining us. And we hope you enjoyed the webinar, and we will speak with you again soon. Thank you.